So a lot of the stuff in the finale with Betty and Simon I thought was like masterpiece level stuff, like chef's kiss, like this is exactly what I wanted. But the main thing I wanted to discuss in this video is the scene with Betty and Simon at the bus stop, because that was a huge thing that I was hoping for and actually happened in the series. So I wanted to talk about that and a lot of the symbolism present in that scene, because I just thought generally it was pretty awesome. A lot of the stuff built up to in that scene and the scenes following, with Simon finally returning to Ooh and the butterfly landing on his face, I think have a lot of stuff that leads into what I wanted with the ending of their relationship. A lot of closure and a lot of satisfying things. There's still the possibility of us maybe, again, I'm going to put a huge fingers crossed here, maybe getting a season 2, which has me very excited. I think a lot of these things can be further developed upon through this. So I'm really genuinely excited to see if any of these things sort of get further elaborated on. But before I get into that, thank you guys so much again for the support on all these videos. I just recently saw my view count. We've hit over 1 million views, which is insane, like really genuinely insane. And we've also hit 6,000 subs. My goal for the year was to hit 5,000, so the fact we're already at 6, it's crazy. The support you guys have given these videos and just my channel as a whole as of late has been really inspiring as a whole. Genuinely, like, thank you so much. You have no idea. So if we could continue getting the train rolling, you guys know that would mean a lot. So let's immediately hop into Simon being sort of transported into Shermie's body. And now there's a lot here immediately. Shermie is a reincarnation of Finn. Finn, his first ever life, was a butterfly as well. Betty, who's like this chaos deity at this point, constantly uses butterflies as some sort of imagery of her being present in the story. We even see that butterflies sort of gain her own sort of distinct facial features, with her glasses being the top wings and a smile being the bottom. I definitely think there's something here, but I also think the connection to her being the butterfly and Finn and the Catalyst Comet being a butterfly is essential to what I think is going to be present for her character going forward. There's also the concept of the butterfly effect, which is obviously how a small thing can lead to bigger changes as it goes further and further down the line. And I think that's very emblematic of Betty's character. We also kind of get some of that with the Casper and Nova book, where if you keep going on one specific path, you might not be able to do things you expected later on, like saving Betty. And I'm planning on talking about this more, like, for sure. I just think this stuff is awesome. And the idea of the butterfly effect being present in shows, whether it is the main plot or character arcs, is just a really cool concept to me. So I definitely want to talk about that more in the future. After we saw him literally turn into Shermie, which is still completely insane, we have this sort of recollection of their scene at the bus stop. Now, this scene was amazing. I loved the way that Simon not only went along with her on the bus, which I wanted the whole time, but also when he finally got to the top of the stairs, they were on equal footing, actively trying to ensure that she sees that they're equals. I love it, because Betty is a very self-sacrificial character who doesn't view herself as important as Simon in the grand scheme. And seeing him lift her up to ensure that she feels like she matters was great. They do try to get on the bus, obviously, and then they play out the whole sadness, like, of course that's not going to happen. Now, Betty, she says that Simon was a wonderful experience, which sounds a bit distant and inhuman to a lot of people. However, I think it's just genuinely because she is now literally turned into this god figure, that she's viewing her own life as something that is very distant from her. She literally was able to send Simon to the future, so clearly she has some sort of time-based abilities where she could probably view the world in completely different ways than she has before, which I think is great, obviously, because it shows how much she's changed, just to show how much Simon has changed from being normal Simon to Ice King to Simon we know now. I think it's a really cool parallel between the two, and we see that really cemented when Betty is not Betty anymore. She's Goal Betty on the bus instead of Betty. That I thought was absolutely awesome. And Simon, of course, since he has that humanity in him still, says that she was everything to him, which is pain. I love it. The thing that I thought was really interesting, now I'm going to be completely genuine right here. I don't know if this is 100% true, but I've seen speculation that the bus, as it changes to a different sort of characters, where the airport originally was, actually is some sort of code from the Enchiridion book, is actually translated to comet. Please let me know down below, because I find this idea like really fascinating, and I want to know if this has any real merit to it, because I think this idea is genuinely fascinating. Now, I think this is really crazy because of some of the stuff I said earlier about the butterfly effect stuff. With Finn, who is a catalyst comet, being represented by a blue butterfly, and Betty also being represented by a blue butterfly, I think there might be some sort of thing going here. Especially if Golb was the person who sort of instilled the catalyst comets into existence, that would be really interesting. Betty is sort of giving up her life to be rebirthed as a catalyst comet, which is not only great for her character growth, that she is confirmed moving on and actually trying to make a life for herself outside of Simon, which is great. I know a lot of people are going to think that's kind of sad and like she's giving up on her love for Simon, but I genuinely don't think that she'll ever give up on her love for Simon, because that's just how people are. People can love each other and not be together. That's just life. Like, that is just how it is. And Betty moving on to do her own thing, like she always wanted to do, I think would be very powerful. And not only that, she would be kind of unattached from all the sort of negative thoughts that have been gnawing at her brain ever since she went into the future to be with Simon, and she would have a fresh start. Again, this is not to say she's going to stop loving Simon, because she obviously does forever, and she will be able to tap into her past lives like many other characters in the series, especially Finn, again, who also was a catalyst comet. So this idea I just think is genuinely really, really cool. And we also see, as Simon is sort of pushed away to Ooh, that Golb is shape-shifting and turning into like this weird bluish body shape. It looks completely different from the normal Golb, and the limbs actually look very thin, similar to how humans look in Adventure Time. I think that is further reinstating the idea that Betty is sort of moving on and changing, which I think is cool, obviously, because she wants Simon to move on, as we saw with the bus scene. And I think what makes it absolutely amazing, as Simon returns to Ooh, the first thing that happens to him is that the butterfly, which again is emblematic of Betty, lands right on his mouth, almost like a kiss. And I thought that was so beautiful. The closure between Betty and Simon was absolutely phenomenal. I know a lot of people wanted Betty to get saved and Betty to be with Simon in some sense. However, I feel as though that wouldn't actually be a great way of representing their relationship as a whole. I feel as though a lot of the greatness of the relationship is the sort of tragedy that they're never going to truly be able to be together because of some unforeseen circumstances, whether it be the crown or whether it be Golb or whether it be the end of the world, literally. Now that they're themselves, finally, they're able to be happy, love what they had with one another, and move on. They'd be able to live their lives for themselves and not for this sort of clinginess and desperation of wanting to be with someone so badly. I do wish that Simon got a moment where he was at least hanging out with Marceline, because I do feel like that was the only other character, besides Betty obviously, that has as much weight to Simon. Now, do I want Simon to like baggage dump all his stuff onto Marceline? Of course not. Him getting therapy with Minerva, love that to death. We love to see Simon bettering himself. But I would have liked a scene with him hanging out with Marceline, Finn, maybe Princess Bubblegum as well, but Marceline especially. Let me know down below what you all thought of the finale and the scenes with Simon and Betty. Again, this isn't everything. I do want to get into some of Simon's complete baggage in a later video, because I thought that stuff was masterclass, you know what I mean? So let me know down below what you want me to talk about. That'll be it from me. Take care and have a good one.